What are you doing? Celebrating. Celebrating what? Our anniversary. 13 years ago today, our brain stopped communicating with the rest of our body when, with the assistance of gravity and a trampoline, we shattered the C4 vertebrae in our neck and damaged our spinal cord. We should celebrate. No thanks, I'm trying to finish this book. But so many things have happened since then. We got married, we went on some fun trips, we got a master's degree, we're about to move into this house, we got a van you can drive. Come on. Hey, don't turn this into some weird inspirational thing. Sorry. Yeah, life is great, but I'm not really that out of the ordinary. I know a bunch of other people with spinal cord injuries and disabilities that live lives that are very similar to mine. Okay, no inspirational celebration then. Could we just celebrate our ordinary life? No, I've really got to finish this book. I've only got a few pages left, and then when I'm done, I think I've got to write like a blog post or something about it and just try and tell as many people as I can not to read it. It's really terrible. What is it called? Me Before You. I haven't heard of it. Well, it's getting pretty popular right now. 10 days from today, on June 3rd, the movie's going to be released in theaters across North America. And why is this a bad thing? Well, I was excited to read it because I learned that one of the main characters has a spinal cord injury. But then my excitement quickly started to dwindle when I started to encounter some pretty offensive stereotypes and a storyline that was essentially fueled by the medical model. One of those, eh? Yeah, the disability is just viewed as a problem without a cure, and it's really just there to move the plot. Hollywood loves these stories. Can you tell me anything else about it? Yeah, I could tell you the whole story, but I would just be ruining the ending for you. You just told me that the story is terrible, so now I have absolutely no interest in reading the book or watching the movie. Can you save me the time and just tell me about it? Are you sure? Spoil away. Well, the story pretty much revolves around two major characters. Okay. The first one is Louisa, or Lou, and she's played by Emilia Clarke, you know, from Game of Thrones. Daenerys Targaryen is in this movie. Yeah, she plays a 26-year-old woman who gets hired as a private care assistant for the next major character, who is Will Traynor. Who plays Will? Khal Drogo? No, Will is played by Sam Claflin. Finnick from The Hunger Games? Yeah, that guy. Okay, so what's Will's story? Will is a very wealthy 35-year-old man. He's a person with quadriplegia, an injury that he sustained after he was hit by a motorbike, and he's not that pleasant to be around. What level is his injury? Yeah, that's where it gets a little bit confusing. You see, the book says that his injury level is C5-6, but at one point, the book also says that he could move his hands a little, but not his arms, so he had to be fed forkful by forkful. Yeah, that doesn't make sense. Our injury is C4 incomplete, and we've got some arm movement that is closer to C5, but we don't have any hand or wrist or finger movement. That doesn't really come into play until you get closer to C7-T1. I know, the research looks kind of wonky in the book. At one point, it even describes a C11-12 injury, which doesn't exist. Maybe it was a typo because a T11-T12 injury does exist. Maybe, but it looks like the author just picked her information from online sources and from YouTube videos, and this is a direct quote, "From quads who upload footage of their daily routines to the internet." Did she just call us quads? Yeah, the language throughout the book is really not great. It also says that he suffered a spinal cord injury, which should be sustained a spinal cord injury. It says he is a quadriplegic, which should be he is a person with quadriplegia. And it says that Will is in a wheelchair. That's almost as bad as confined or bound to a wheelchair. I like to describe myself as a wheelchair user. It's so much nicer. Yeah, I know, but some people just need to learn that certain words are kind of offensive. Okay, so that's it. Daenerys Targaryen gets a job with Finnick from The Hunger Games, and that's it? The end? Not quite. The story explains that Will led a pretty active life before his injury, but now since his injury, he's showing signs of depression, he's attempted suicide, and this is essentially why Lou was brought on to quote, and this is a direct quote, to try to cheer him up. Oh geez. Yeah, Lou also finds out that she has a timeline to do this. What is it? Will has given his parents 6 months before he heads to Switzerland and euthanizes himself at Dignitas. What the fuck? Did you just say Dignitas? Yes. The real-life, super controversial euthanasia facility in Switzerland. Yes. Oh no. Oh yes. So Lou makes it her mission to try and change Will's mind. How? Lou suggests that they go for a drive in the country with Will's wheelchair-accessible van, but when Will declines, Lou asks Will what he would normally do, and Will says, and this is another direct quote, "I don't do anything. I can't do anything anymore. I sit. I just about exist." Oh God, this is a stereotypical pity party narrative, isn't it? Yep, but before giving up, Lou starts to plan other trips. They go to the horse races, which kind of ends terribly after Will's chair gets stuck in the mud. Of course. Will gets a tattoo, best before the 19th of March, 2007. Let me guess, is that the date of his injury? Yep, and then they go see a concert. And before entering, Will stops Lou in the car and says this, "I don't want to go in just yet. I just want to sit and not have to think about it. I just want to be a man who has been to a concert with a girl in a red dress, just for a few minutes more." So wait, we can't be a man and a wheelchair user? Did I miss the memo? Yeah, there's a lot of demasculizing and desexualizing going on in this book. Of course there is. So what happens next? Well, Will goes to Lou's house on her birthday for dinner. And then Will and Lou go to his ex-girlfriend's wedding, which is kind of weird, but on the dance floor, he finally agrees to go on a trip with her. Holy shit, they dance? I'm surprised he didn't follow suit with the stereotypes and say that he didn't bring his dancing shoes for his wheelchair or something. Yeah, it was an okay surprise. So where did they go for this trip? Well, on the day after the wedding, Lou logs on to an internet forum and writes this, and I quote, "Can anyone tell me a good place to go where quadriplegics can have adventures? I am looking for things that an able-bodied person might be able to do, things that might make my depressed friend forget for a while that his life is a bit limited. I don't really know what I'm hoping for, but all suggestions gratefully received. This is quite urgent." This is just like how the author did her lazy research for the book. I know, but Lou receives 89 responses and she finds this resort just outside of Yosemite for people with spinal cord injuries. Sounds fun. Yeah, but she also finds information on skydiving where, quote, "Will would be weightless and free. He would escape the dreaded chair. He would escape gravity." Here we go with the chair again, eh? Yeah, it's an ongoing theme. So how does the trip go? It doesn't. Just as the trip is about to begin, Will gets pneumonia and that pretty much puts the brakes on everything. This looks like a conveniently added illness for creating rising action for the big climax. Exactly. Will eventually gets better enough to go on a trip with her, but instead of going to this place in Yosemite, they head to this island nation in the Indian Ocean just off the coast of Madagascar. That's the most wheelchair accessible place she could find? They couldn't do a short flight from the UK to Paris? Nope, Paris wasn't an option for two reasons. One, Will didn't want to go back to the city and he thought it would ruin all his memories of when he was walking around and attracting women at cafes. And two, Lou found somewhere on the internet that Paris was the most inaccessible place on earth. Well, that's not true. We went to Paris on our honeymoon. The language barrier and the battery charger were a bit of an issue, but otherwise I thought we had a pretty nice time. I know, Paris was great, but they head to this place in the Indian Ocean. They enjoy the sun, but only after Will is feeling a little bit better. And then they do a bunch of other activities, and this is pretty much where we reach the climax of the story. Let me guess. Daenerys Targaryen expresses her love for Finnick. You got it. She tells him that she loves him and then says, quote, "I've done lots of research on the internet, talking to other quads and caregivers of quads, and she has, quote, learned so much about how to make this work." There she goes with the quad stuff again. How does Will respond? Will immediately quashes all of her dreams of spending her life with him when he says that her love is not enough. What? It's Daenerys Targaryen. It's the mother of dragons. I know, but it gets worse. Will tells Lou, "This, my world, even with you in it, it's not the life I want." Oh no. Oh yes, but Lou argues back and reminds Will of this thing he once told her about not allowing things define her. Excellent. But Will is quick to respond and says this, "But it does define me. You don't know me. You not really. You never saw me before this thing. I loved my life. Really loved it. I loved my job, my travels, the thing I was. I loved being a physical person. I liked riding my motorbike, hurling myself off great heights. I liked crushing people in business deals. I liked having sex, lots of sex. I led a big life. I am not designed to exist in this thing, and yet for all intents and purposes, it is now the thing that defines me. It is the only thing that defines me. This is a joke, right? No, this is real. This is terrible. Oh, but it gets worse. How? Well, Lou continues to plead with Will for a while, and after he continues to say no, she basically snaps, calls him selfish, and then just says, "Fuck you, Will Trainer, fuck you. I wish I'd never taken this stupid job. I wish I'd never met you." Yeah, fuck you, Will Trainer. And then the book eventually ends with them going back to the UK, Will heading to Switzerland, Lou heading to Switzerland one more last time to see Will dying, and then him leaving her a bunch of money. That's it, the end. Well, shit. This is terrible. I'm sorry, I warned you. What do other people online think of it? Everyone is loving it. All of the reviews are positive. Everyone is even sending messages to the authors saying how much they enjoyed the book. I don't think people realize how offensive this is. That makes me want to barf. I know. So what are we going to do? I don't know what to do. Me Before You is just another ableist storyline. It's nothing really new. It's made by the non-disabled, it's for the non-disabled, and it just caters to the biggest fear that many non-disabled people have about life with a disability. Yeah, for many people, we are their biggest fear. We're their worst nightmare. A lot of people think that they'd rather be dead than be us, but it's probably because they don't know what the world of disability is like until they're really living it. I know, but for me, books and movies like this are my biggest fear. They just end up perpetuating a myth that a life with a disability like ours is inevitably terrible. In fact, the producers of Me Before You also produced a little movie called $1 Million Baby a few years ago. Do you remember how that one ended? Should we start a Warner Brothers Hates Disabled People Facebook group? Whoa, let's not jump to conclusions. We don't want to get sued. Good point. Look, I'm not denying that there are not people like Will Trainer on this planet, and I know that this story was influenced by that rugby player in the UK that went to Dignitas a few years ago. Yeah, but we did work in a hospital a few years ago as peer support coordinators, and we met with a few individuals who expressed some of the same feelings that Will was, and to help them, we didn't take them on a vacation to the Indian Ocean. This is true. That's only something you really do to sell books and movie tickets. It also sounds like Will is not really a realistic character that I've ever met. It sounds like he's just a creation of chaos just to push the storyline. I know, but I'm also not going to pretend that adapting to life with a disability or a spinal cord injury is something that's extremely simple. Our daily routine is quite extensive, and it can take up to 3 hours for us to get ready in the morning. And I also take a bunch of medications for muscle spasticity and pain that I attempt to mitigate 24 hours a day. And after our injury, it took us a number of years before we were completely happy and comfortable with our new body. And a lot of that really just had to do with me understanding my own ableist thoughts. I think these stories just make those thoughts worse, especially if someone who sees Me Before You also happens to sustain a spinal cord injury shortly after watching the movie. This is why I wish there was more quote-unquote normal stories that just feature a character with a disability as a realistic character. Yeah, disability narratives often fall into these traps, and then they wind up dead in the end. Exactly. Well, I think we just figured out what we need to do. What do we need to do? We should make a video, and you can post it online and just tell as many people as possible not to see this shitty movie. Well, I don't think so. That sounds weird, and come on, Mr. Pessimistic, it'll be great. I can go get props. Props? What kind of props? Well, I could just wear this Professor Xavier's cerebral helmet, and we could just tell everyone to go see X-Men Apocalypse on June 3rd instead of Me Before You. Oh, I don't know. X-Men has its issues too, and James McAvoy is a non-disabled actor crip-facing his performance just like Sam Claflin. I know, but it's X-Men, and the trailer looks so good. Oh yeah. And Oscar Isaac plays Apocalypse in the movie. Poe from Star Wars. Yeah, he was pretty good in Ex Machina too. Pretty good in Ex Machina? That movie is a masterpiece. If I had a womb, I would have Oscar Isaac's babies. Things just got weird. Ha, you think things just got weird? Well, you're the one that's been talking to himself this whole time. Good point.